Welcome to the More Than Just Mowing podcast. I'm your host, Joel Cleaver, and this is the official podcast of Jim's Mowing. If you didn't know it, it's the world's largest gardening franchise with more than 2,000 franchisees in Australia, New Zealand and Canada. And on the podcast show, we interview franchisees, our franchisors who run the regions and manage the franchisees, and also Jim himself. So there's a lot of broad range of content, and we do encourage you, if you are researching more about Jim's Mowing, about what we do, go through those episodes. It will give you a great sense of who we are. So without further delay, here's today's episode. So Brett, thank you very much for joining us today on the Jim's Mowing and Jim's Group podcast. And first of all, present you with the Silver Core membership, which is worth, I think, $600, $700, a couple of free nights at any of your core hotel in the world. And there's 50% of dining and plus a lot of other benefits as well. So we'll get this to you after the interview today. And thank you for joining us in the today. I'm sure you've got a busy schedule. So let's get into it first and just start with what were you doing prior to Jim's Mowing, Brett?
I spent 33 years in big box retail, mate.
Wow.
Yeah, so all the way from sort of the back dock guy receiving boxes up into sort of regional manager, project manager towards the end.
Yeah. So what prompted the change after so many years?
To be honest, it happened in COVID. So at that stage, I had the unfortunate position of being in a Coles supermarket going through toilet paper gate. And it was actually better things to be doing with my days than dealing with people talking about empty toilet paper shelves, mate, to be honest.
Can you tell us a bit more about it? Because it's a pretty crazy time, as we all remember. We sort of, because we were living through that time.
Yeah.
From your perspective, maybe do you want to talk a little bit about regards to that?
Yeah, right. Okay, so I was running a supermarket at the time. My first job every morning at 6:30. I went to work at 6:30 every morning. It took me 45 minutes, I think, to get to the shop. And there would have been a minimum of 150 people already lined up for us to open at 7. So my first job for the day was count how many packets of toilet paper there were, and then walk the line and count how many customers they were, one per customer. And then from when I ran out of numbers, it was like, anyone that's in the line from here back, if you want toilet paper, you're not going to get it today, that'll be tomorrow. And 50%, 60% of the rest of the line would leave and go home and come back the next day. Wow. And that happened week after week after week.
Bizarre times.
Crazy to think back. Crazy.
So just when you started 2021, so what were you looking at the time? Like, because obviously 33 years in something, it's very, like, it could be like, very difficult, to sort of try and do something new. So what were you looking at the time? Do you remember, or was it always Jim's Mowing, or what was your thought process?
Yeah, look, it was interesting sort of story, because when I was out on a project role, doing sort of 70, 80 hours a week with retail, I actually rang to try and get my lawn done. That would have been probably 2019. And then I was basically an unserviced lead because no one could do the job. And then that sort of started to sow the seed a little bit. And I knew a couple of other guys sort of in the industry, not with gyms. And I thought, you know what, that's something that I'd really start to think about. And then sort of, it was probably a 2-3 year process where I started to think about it, and then thought about flexibility and work-life balance and all that sort of thing. And that was the big seller. Obviously, you can set your own race, and you got one boss, and the boss is pretty good to you, to your own boss, as you know. So it's pretty good. Yeah, it was like I spent a lot of years dealing with a lot of people with a lot of problems, like us teams of up to 150, 160 people, and it just entails your whole day, and like you end up in a world of problems that sort of grate on you a little bit. And yeah, there's much less problems when you're dealing with people who you work for.
Yeah, I've been talking to a few people similar to yourself with backgrounds where they might have a 20-year or 30-year career, and it's sort of almost it's like, because you're such good employees, or you do such a good job and you treat it like yourselves. It's always hard to pull yourself from, but then when you pull yourself from it and you do your own business, you absolutely fly, which is what you've been doing, because you've got a perfect star rating. I had a look since you started, so you haven't had one complaint or anything, which is fantastic. So
yeah, I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, no, it's great. But do you want to talk about, did you do the training in Melbourne, or was it online during that time?
No, I had to do the online training because it was all knocked off because of COVID.
Yeah.
So it was like all via video sessions and all that sort of stuff. But and to be honest, that's a format I was really used to. I delivered those and through my past, so I was actually pretty au fait, and it was actually, the training was really good. Like, it was unfortunate to obviously miss out on a group of new franchisees to have a chat to and how they were feeling. But yeah, no, the training was still good.
I'm glad to hear that, Brett, because when we did comparisons between people who did the training in person and online, the online people, because some people would just switch off, or wouldn't wouldn't watch it properly, their complaints level was a lot higher than the people who did it in person. So to have yourself,
that's interesting.
have yourself who's got a perfect star rating from doing the online training. It's fantastic to hear, and Jim will be wrapped with that because as soon as we could get it back in person, Jim cut the online training straight away because of the complaints.
I can imagine.
So what was it about the training, especially with the mowing, because mowing's a practical job and you're coming from something completely unrelated. So how was that experience going in your first couple of weeks from doing the theory components and then doing the practical?
So I was always been a pretty practical one myself. So the transition was quite good. The interesting thing about the training though, and it's worth to pass on, was like the amount of time that the customers mentioned in the training, there was no doubt what you should actually be doing, right? So you don't actually, like starting a lawnmower and mowing a lawn was secondary in the training to making sure the customer was okay, right? So that's how it came across to me. So I lived that for 3 decades. So I didn't have a problem with like transition. I just transitioned my customer service 30 years set over to my customers. And they've responded obviously really well. But the practical stuff was fine. Look, took me probably 6 weeks to get match fit, to be honest. So, I mean, in a supermarket world, you're doing the same amount of steps as what you're doing in a gym's day, but it's like obviously really different walking around sort of pointing and shooting as opposed to actually working physically and holding a hedger and pushing a mower and that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, no, the transition was good. Took me a little while to get fit, as I said, but yeah, now we're good.
No, we generally hear that. Yeah, it's generally around a month or 6 weeks, as you said, in terms of match fitness or gardening, mowing fitness, because it can be a bit of a shock to people if they come from at least you're walking around at your job, but coming from an office job where you're sitting down all day. We do hear from the blokes, they're very, very drained for that first month or two until they get used to it.
I had a chat to one of the boys last week, and sort of we had a tough day last week weather-wise. Like it's winter, so it's pretty crazy on the Central Coast in winter.
Yeah,
but we had a super sneaky hot day, and one of the other guys that's in after me, I sort of said I would hate to have come from an office desk job to sort of like that would have been a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so with the business where you're at now, so are you a sole trader? How many clients do you have, or what's your setup currently?
I'm a sole trader. I got 115 regulars last year. So it's all gone really well. I'm happy. Yeah,
that's a great business. Like to be doing by yourself, you must be pretty flat out with those.
Yeah, no, it's busy. Well, currently sort of obviously it's winter here, so I'm back to sort of 4 days a week now, but that's okay because come the end of September I'll be probably on 6, so it ends up even.
So how's your lifestyle been with was it more family reasons you wanted to do the business, or what was your lifestyle you wanted?
Yeah, look, I've got 3 adult daughters and my wife and 2 grandkids now, so
because you're a young looking granddad.
Oh, cheers, thank you. Yeah, so when you're at that time of life, there's more important things to do than be working for the man. And it's nice to be able to go, have your daughter ring and go, hey, I'm stuck with the kids on Friday. And then I can go, well, I'll do my Friday on Saturday and I'll help you out. So that's a bit of a motivation. But I spent 30 years working for someone else. So to be honest, that was a massive motivator to not be working for someone else.
And how have you found yourself, let's say overall, like in well-being wise? Has it just been such a relief, or is it what would you describe that as from that transition?
I wish I had done a decade before. Yeah. Like I'm in much better headspace than I've ever been. And it's strange because obviously, you spend a lot of time worrying about numbers when you're in a high level position in sort of any organization, but then you move that and transition to worrying about your own numbers, and which technically should be probably more stressful, but it actually really isn't. So, when you get it, you get it. But yeah, the pressure wise is fantastic.
Do you think a bit, because I hear this a lot, like, people say I should have done it years ago. What do you think's the reason why people don't? Is it because it's a fear, or is people just have misconception about maybe doing a franchise, or what do you think stops people? Is it just sort of one of those things where you get into a routine, you got a bit golden handcuffs on, and it's a bit hard to pull yourself in at all? What is it from your perspective?
When you sort of, so I spent probably 28 years in one organisation, and every year you go to the rah meeting where they pump up everyone's tyres and all that sort of stuff. So much so with our Sydney head office, we'd go into the meeting and the local cookie man who was running his own business would say, "Oh, you're all back for re-education school, are you, this week?" And it actually gets a little bit like that. You sort of, and I've got guys still in the industry now who I talk to. A couple of got out. One I've got into a gyms franchise, which is great. And you actually you get not scared. I don't think scared's the right word, but I think you don't trust your skill set, even though your skill set's amazing. You don't trust your skill set to be able to transfer, and it transfers so incredibly. It's not even funny once you've done it.
Brad, I'm glad you said that. I think that's a big problem for people. You're right; they underestimate their skill set for whatever reason. I think there's a thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and a lot of the time it's more like the more intelligent or more capable people are, the less confidence they feel in their ability. Whereas people who might not have that same skill set, but they're more confident, tend to do well. So yeah, you're right in terms of people underestimating their skill set. Because in your 30 years, you would have done, like even after 10 years, 15 years, you would have done so many different things, where what you're doing now just easy in comparison.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, I remember writing a resume to move from one organisation to the other, and you go back through the history and you think if someone presented that to me and I was interviewing them for a job, you'd just be like, that's impressive. But you don't consider it because you lived it, obviously. So,
no, I think it's a great point. I'm glad you said that. I've done a few of these interviews, and that's one thing that hasn't been said. But yeah, people's lack of confidence, or their own, not lack of confidence, but maybe lack of actually understanding how good their skill set is something that puts people off from doing it. But I was going to say, in regards to your own business now, you got a perfect star rating, which is fantastic. So maybe just want to outline from your perspective, what's good customer service to you? And when you get that inquiry, what's your process, or what are things that you're doing differently to keep that perfect star rating?
Yeah, so the 2-hour window that we have, I don't abide by. I just do it straight away, which actually lands a fair bit of rapport. Like you get very much like a lot of, oh, wow, it's straight away. Well, already, that sort of thing. But then that's one piece. Then you obviously get your quote in, and once you land your client, and it's a little bit about like the little things with your client. So good example is I've got a lady who I did last Friday who's a regular, and her husband's in hospital. So that's just a follow-up text this morning saying, hey, I hope everything was okay, because she went to the time to say to me, hey, I've left the gates open, hubby's in hospital, and I won't be there to see you, sorry, that sort of stuff. So just those little 2-minute jobs for me. Like, it's easy to say there's 110 people that I have to see, but they only see me. So it's important that I give them time that they're valuable to me as a client. So just little things like that. And I'm always punctual. I do what I say. If I'm not going to come, I ring them. If it's raining, even though they know I'm not going to come because we're getting 5 inches of rain, I'll ring and say, hey, it's raining, I'm not going to come. And just follow up and communication with the client.
Yeah, that's great. And I was going to say as well, with do you want to outline for people all the services that you do in your business? So what type of jobs do you find yourself doing for your customers?
Yep. Okay. So I mow because I'm in the mowing franchise, but find myself doing a lot of odd jobs for other people, like a little tap change for an old guy last week that couldn't do it. That would be like a $400 plumber call out that we don't have to worry about because I know how to do it. I do gutter cleans. I do heaps of hedges, lots of gardening. Rubbish cleanups are a good one on the coast because on the Central Coast we only get 6 a year from the council. So once you're out of 6 a year, you're in trouble. So a lot of people will say, hey, can you come and run this to the tip for me, and that sort of stuff. So yeah, little bit of everything. I've got a rapport with the local tree guy who, if something's too big for me, it goes to him. And, a couple of local sparkies that I know can help because obviously there's things that you can't do as a mower/handy guy that require a license. But yeah, I've got a network of guys that I can send to people if they ask as well.
Yeah, I think people need to understand, even though it's called Jim's Mowing, as you said, there's so many things you can do. You're changing taps for people, you're doing some odd jobs. The rubbish removal is a big one as well. I know a lot of franchisees love doing that, but it's a great thing. Rather than skipping on your front of your house for 3 or 4 days, you guys can just come around and actually move it for them and put it in there, and away you go.
On. Yeah, absolutely. Do a couple of real estate end of lease garden cleans. I did one of those last week. So this house I did last week, it's the 4th time I've done it in 2 years. So that's an interesting one. So obviously going through some tenants, but yeah, each time I know it's easy to redo once you've done it once.
Yeah. And what are some big misconceptions as well do you think that customers have around Jim's Mowing, or that you find from your experience?
I'm not sure if there's any misconceptions or not. What I find a lot is other people, contractors, businesses have let a lot of people down. Like that's my chat a lot. Like, so you'll show up and the lawn's obviously not 4 foot high, so it's someone's doing it. So the conversation is, oh, who's been doing your lawn, etc. And it's like, oh, this person's been doing it, but they've stopped coming. And I'm like, the amount of times I've heard that in my day is like ridiculous. It's not difficult, but there's really good brand recognition on the coast, which I think's really good and interesting. I think they think we do everything, which I think we probably do, to be honest. I put my caravan in locally about a month ago in my gym shirt because I just go down to the beach locally. It's 10 minutes down, so we did go down for the weekend. So I came and dropped my trailer off, put the van in, and as I was putting it in and just plugging the power in, the guy next to me went, "No, you gyms blokes just do everything, don't you? You even put caravans in for people." I went, "Oh, no, mate, this is my van, but I'm sure we could do Jim's caravan swap arounds if we had to." Yeah, but I don't find a lot of misconceptions from the clients, but brand recognition's great.
Yeah, that's great. And how's the support been up in your area as well? Did you have much idea about the franchise system as well in regards to the support and all the other things when you started as well?
I'd done a little bit of research, so I knew there was a couple of different models. Like our model, I think, is really solid. So the support's great. Yeah, it's really good. Like I don't have a lot of contact with my franchisor unless like I need to, sort of thing, and he chases me up regularly, and we have a bit of a chin wag two-way about some stuff. But yeah, it's a really good setup. Sort of something like we had last week. Actually, the survey came out for the auditing of the ad fund.
Yep.
That came out from the office, but it came out with a really weird email address at the top. So I just rang my local franchisor and I went, "Look, it's come out really weird. Maybe just let the guys know it's not a scam. It's actually something that we look at," because it just came out saying something strange. So, but no, the support's really good.
That's good. Now, do you have meetings as well that you attend, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What goes on at those meetings?
We run through sort of where we're headed, unserviced leads, sort of strategy stuff, bit around employees. If the guys have got employees, like what we should do. We did new, obviously the minimum wages were increasing. We just had the meeting before last one, so we talked about that. Like, headwinds, what we're worried about around interest rates and all that, just sort of, stuff when you run your own business that especially for the new guys, right? So if you're in 12 months or you've never done it, like I've been through a few winters and a few summers, so you kind of know. But interest rate rises, I've never lived before running my own business, so it was good to hear that sort of insight. We talked that last meeting, which was beneficial.
And how's the level of work been coming to you? Been happy that you're on leads still, or you're?
Yeah, I've got leads on. I've had no leads for about 3 or 4 weeks, but it's winter, so I mean, I had mowed my grass for a month, so I'm not. That doesn't surprise me. I've sort of just got them turned on, in case something pops up. Because what I find is if you jag someone in the middle of winter, you can potentially convert them to a regular, and then they're sort of ready to go from September onwards, which is great. So I just leave them on basically permanently during winter, just in case I don't need the work. I've got enough because I bank work up during summer for the middle of the year. So, but yeah, if someone pops in, happy to go and help them out with a view to convert them to a regular.
And what would your best advice be to new franchisees starting in terms of things that maybe they should do, or things that if you had your time again, you would do a little bit differently?
I would say be really, really stringent on your customer communication and your scheduling. I would also say don't listen to the noise around Jim's Jobs app not working for you. You'll hear it today, and it's fantastic. I love it. I do all my scheduling, all my invoicing, all my payments, and then I just map it to my Xero account. So I would say don't listen to that. I would say get match fit as soon as you can, but just be really good to your customers, because I mean, someone once said to me, good people get along in the gym's organisation because of what we do. And that's, if you go in with the right attitude, the customers will love you.
And do you want to talk a bit more about Jim's Jobs? Because that's great to hear, because it's obviously probably the number one hot point for Jim and franchisees. So are you using the desktop version of the phone app? What are you using?
I use them both. I use them both. So I use my phone. The phone's great. Phone app's great. Like, don't get me wrong, if I get a software update in midday in the middle of the day, it's a little bit annoying, but you can always flick it. I find the app great. I don't have any issues with it. And then I use the desktop one when I sort of chase old invoices and bits and pieces like that, and sit down and send a few emails.
I'm glad to hear. I've done a few down the roads with franchisees here, and they use the app and just have it on the dashboard, and just after every job, bang, send their invoice, and it seems to be okay. So it's
I know I hear the noise, and I'm not sure what these guys are doing, to be honest, but yeah, that's anyway.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I'll speak to Jim today, and I'll say Brett said he used it and he's happy with it, so it's good to hear.
Yeah, I've used it from the first day, and don't worry, I heard the noise at the start, and I heard that don't do it, and I went, you know what? I've lived in a lot of organisations and had some really dodgy help desks, and even the guys, if you ring the help desk, they're pretty good. They get back to you quick, and I think I had a problem with 3 invoices that wouldn't sync, and I had two guys on the phone for 25, 30 minutes and we worked it out and they helped me work it out. So, yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing to make it not work, but it's not that complex.
How long did it take you to learn it properly? Was it a day or was it a half day or less than that? Or how long did it take?
I worked it out sort of within a couple of hours. I'm pretty savvy with apps, but and pretty good with computers. But yeah, it's very intuitive. And look, to be honest, if you were struggling and you follow Jim's tour that you get when they do an app update, you could work it out pretty quick yourself, even if you didn't know what you're doing. But yeah, I find it really easy.
That's great to hear. Now, in your business, what type of equipment are you using?
I run Toro lawnmowers. I've got a 21 and a 30, and obviously backups of the 21s. I run a John Deere ride-on, and then I run Husqvarna hand tools.
Yep. So is that for you? What sort of gear would you recommend to new franchisees? Because obviously everyone's got brand preferences. So how did you make your decision on that equipment you use?
Okay, so the franchisor selected mine, but I would totally recommend a Toro mower. Don't buy anything else. Like, people will tell you Hondas are amazing, et cetera. Don't just buy a Toro mower. Trust me, it's the right thing to do. I love my Husky stuff. Yep. Some of the other boys have gone to Shindira, I think, since I jumped in, and they like it as well. I've only ever used Husky stuff since I started, and I don't have a drama with it, so I don't have any reason to change. So I'm happy with both. But my recommendation would be don't let anyone talk you out of Toros.
No, there we go.
We had parts issues during COVID, but the world had parts issues. But that's all sorted now.
Now, in your business, do you do any like email marketing, or how do you do your upselling, or how do you get those extras from customers?
So this is a really interesting story. So in my first week, I went and bought a map of my territory, which is Budgewoi. Got a black texter and marked out everything, and thought I spent probably 4 hours. Went to the post office, got to all this stuff, stapled all my leaflets together, and I think I've done one leaflet drop in my life, and everything else has just happened organically through the leads. And then I've got 12 houses in the street.
Really?
By people just wandering over. Hey, why have you been doing this? Like, and what you hear is, oh, you come here every fortnight, and I see you on the same day every fortnight. Yeah, that's right. I'm here Thursdays and Fridays. And he went, oh, you want to come over and look at my lawn? And then the neighbour will like, oh, do you want to come over and look at my lawn? So, yeah, it's good. It's all happened organically for me. I haven't had to market or anything.
That's great. Well, that's great to hear. And that's really good to hear. And obviously you do a great job. So with quality, like in the early days, was it something where you just took a bit longer to get it right, or how do you maintain such good quality in your business? Because you're getting through a lot of jobs. You got a pretty big regular customer base. So how do you maintain that quality with doing so much work?
Yeah. So early on, and one of some of the other new guys I spoke to was the same. I was like, don't just take your time and treat it like your own lawn and make it look good like your own lawn. And one of the guys was like, I'm too fussy on my own lawn, so I shouldn't do that. And I went, look, just get your quality right first before you get your speed up. So my advice would be, get your quality right, do a really good job, and then the more you're back there, the quicker you get at it anyway. You'll get inherently quicker, and then you'll get faster and faster because you're going to the same place all the time. You know the routine, it's nice and easy. And yeah, but you got to go quality first, even if it takes you that longer in your day, and then get your speed up later.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice. And for someone maybe looking at it, or who's in your position, what would you sort of tell them? What things should they be asking maybe, or what should they be looking at or doing to maybe sort of see if Jim's Mowing's right for them?
Go find your local bloke, have a yarn, see if you can do a day with him. I did a couple of days with the guy I bought my franchise off. He did a split and I bought like half of the split. Yep. Just knowing, like, anyone will take you on a run. If someone came and knocked on me and said, hey, I'm thinking about it, I'll take them for a day with me and show them what it's like and talk about the virtues, and you can see everything. So I would say go and find your local bloke, have a quick yarn, probably chew his ear off for 20 minutes, and you'll know straight away if you want to jump in for a day, because if you get the right guy, you'll talk the good things. Like, everyone can dwell on a bad thing, but there's not many of them, to be honest. But yeah, just jump in with a franchisee and go for a run. Yeah, and with help, just trying to break his back window like I did with my guy, but that's okay.
You broke his back window?
His back window on day 2, flicked the stone into it with a whipper snipper.
Bloody the stone. There's someone you've got to do this. You know what Jim's Mowing fantasy until you do a stone in the winter, but I didn't know on the observation day.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So I went and did a day for him for a couple of days for him for free to pay him back.
Oh, good man. Good man. I was going to say, you're happy with the level of income as well. You may not have to say much you're making, but are you happy with what you'll be bringing in for yourself in your business now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
No worries. Well, thank you very much for your time, Brett.
You're welcome, mate. Nice to have a chat.
Oh, no, well, mate, you can see why you obviously do really, really well. And it's great to hear. Jim will be pumped you've talked about Jim's jobs in such a going.
People need to, I said to franchisor, people need to stop this, mate. Look, I'm on a page I had to get off. I'm like, you guys are crazy. You're not doing it.
Yeah. It's pretty depressing for Jim to get. It's all he gets is complaints about that. But it's interesting. As I said, I've been through a few day on the roads with franchisees down here, and they use the app, and they're the same as you. They're like, "Are you not seeing app? Not a problem.
There's no issues, is it?
No, not a problem." So I don't know. But for being a staff franchisee, mate, we'll get this silver core membership to you. You'll get an email to create an account. It's a legit email from a core. It's not spam. So create an account in 5 days when you get it. And also getting 2 free nights to any hotel in the world via a core network. So it's worth a bit of money. And that's on behalf of Jim's Group and Jim's Mark being a staff franchisee. So
that's great. Thanks very much.
Thanks for joining us today, Brett. You're welcome. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for listening to the episode of the More Than Just Mowing podcast by Jim's Mowing. If you do need help with your local gardening expert, please give us a call on 131 546 for Australia, 0800 454 654 for New Zealand, or head to jimsmowing.com.au or jimsmowing.co.nz. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to leave us a review as well, wherever you consume your podcast. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.